You did this man. Well, this is a big difference. I told him to stay, but I know. You care about that. Yeah, you're right. So good. I was hoping you guys were home. You what? So hoping you guys didn't have to drive this far. They won't track as much, but I trap much that down there. I heard, yeah, I heard 465 was a parking lot there. I bet. I mean, you don't need interstate that kind of. You're just asking to go right. You know, Christine, can you hear us? I'm not sure if we can hear you or not.
We can hear you.
Yep, can hear you.
Bill was actually on or not. That picture looks too young.
Look at all that dark hair.
Okay, I'll turn the video on so you can see all the gray hair, so if that makes it any better for you.
As dark as that room is, you use shine like a flashlight under your chin, so it kind of has that Sammy Terry look.
Yeah, the lights are a little bit weird here. That's why I had it on.
I like the way this to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Treasurer, can you call me a roll, please?
Council President Rector Heidi.
Here.
Council Vice President Michael Wolski.
Walt, here.
Councilmember Josie Greer.
Here. Thanks for yeah.
Councilmember Ed Loud.
Here.
Councilmember Anna P. Here.
All right, consent agenda, yeah.
Okay, in reviewing the claims. The only things that, are over 5,000 that are not a contract that was previously approved by the contract, I believe is, best way disposal. For, criminal waste, $5,852.05. And, code crafters, 23,260.20, I guess that was our fee for the month. And then, Hannum, Waggle, and Klein Engineering. Not sure about each of these, we have a contract. Okay. And, I work Q, software, $7,900. And, our legal fee for, gym territory issues, $8,355.05. Russell Excavating for, to install a new linear actuator, $8,500. Ferris Group, I think that's probably part of the contract.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, Xylem Water Solutions. I'm not sure of that, but that's $6,000.
I called Eric early, to give some questions, and thank you for giving us the budget versus active year, thanks for asking for this. It looks like when I was looking at this, building permits, are up above budget, is that right? Significantly.
Yeah.
Like 25%.
Yeah. They're tracking pretty closely, last year we were at 500,000. We budgeted even higher, we budgeted higher than the previous year's budget, and didn't budget as high as the previous year's actual, just to be conservative. So I think we expected that they would be probably coming in higher budget, but.
Okay. Then we have some miscellaneous revenue that was, we budgeted for 24,000, I don't know if there's anything spectacular there.
The main thing there is insurance reimbursements, and it's just kind of the way that I rolled up all those miscellaneous revenues into there, so. We have to account for insurance reimbursement somewhere, so that's, let's see, that was about 53,000 of that 74 that was in it, so.
I was wondering if improvement other buildings, is that tying into the shelter house or their natural park system?
It does, that's exactly it.
The only other thing they have was insurance premiums and be kind of higher than budget, is that accurate?
Yes, the main reason for that was the work comp insurance was higher than budgeted. But just keep in mind that that line item, that's a annual fee, so it won't change. It shouldn't, I mean, it might change a little bit as we add vehicles or something like that,
And
but
that's again,
yeah, the biggest part of it is paid up front.
I appreciate it, thank you very much.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions on the consent agenda, or the items in it? I'll entertain a motion.
Made a motion to consent it.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, ayes have it, 5-0. Citizen comments. Okay. Staff reports, Chief Crow. Chief Woodland, I haven't listened.
That's okay, I can do that, I can do it. You'll see most of our officers are getting out on the trail more often, hopefully regulating some of the speeding that you've seen. From what I've heard, it's not been anything terrible, that they are still seeing a lot of foot traffic, which is great, because weather's picked up. And nice to see that. So you'll see them golf cart and on bicycle. So hopefully that'll continue on through the summertime.
Any major crime issues going on?
No, not right now. Currently, we've got the, the domestic stuff, nothing. I don't want to speak anything into existence about that, but.
Thank you so much. Mr. Webb, Steve Bridge version of the staff report, sir, go ahead.
Bridge.
Hey, thank you very much. So,
Perfect. I messaged all you guys earlier this week, John Walkup, our utility director, let me know that he's moving, back to up north where he was born, where he came from, where his wife's from. So he's effectively out of office now, and he's still available by phone until July 3rd. But we've been working on plans for that. Just as an extra line of security, we're gonna have Asbury come back as a time and material if we need somebody to step in for filling spots. We've talked with all the employees in the department, have a good understanding of what's going on, drafted a job description. I put that in front of all the current staffing to let them know if they wanted to apply, they'd give an interview, but I'd probably go out externally as well. We do have one candidate, I initially thought we didn't, but we do have one candidate within the department that I think could be a good fit, so we'll set up an interview with them and keep kind of trudging forward and figure out some of the hiring strategy and things around that. But John worked here for 12 years in total, as utility director for 4. So it's kind of an opportune time operationally with us in the middle of getting ready to open a new plant, because John had the most institutional knowledge of our current SBR plant, essentially, because we're going to do operation. A lot of those historic things won't really be a factor in the plant operations side. So we're going to try to take both our operators to set up a trip to Rockford, where they have the plant, the demo and training plant and stuff up there anyway, so that they board be good live cars and already have hands-on experience with an Aqua Narita system. So that's kind of one of the biggest things that kind of was caught everyone by surprise and kind of reacting quickly to. But we're going to be in good shape, and we have really good staff out there too. So we're gonna stay afloat there. I met with State Secretary of Commerce, Secretary Adams, as part of a small group that got to meet with him and talk about Ron's economic development strategy. Obviously, he cut with the legislature, their state economic development corporation, ITC's funding this year. He's really wanting to change Indiana's approach to economic development in a pretty drastic way, different than what's been done historically. So if you guys have more questions or interest, then may have any talk to guys gonna individually on that, because it's a little bit different than what we're used to seeing as a state. Those are kind of two big happenings. There's a lot going on, obviously development wise still. We are seeing some indications of market cooling, just increase in demand, just affordability, like I was mentioning for the meeting. It's getting tougher to builders to build with the land and capital margins. That's getting difficult for buyers to purchase, because mostly interest rates and entry cost. See what happens.
Any additional questions for Ben? The training facility, where was that located again?
It's Rockford, Illinois.
Thank you.
It's where the Ice Hawks play.
You a big fan?
So they fuel against the Ice Hawks feed Blackhawks. So
Oh, okay.
it's the,
So it's a yes.
I don't go there for games often, but I know they're.
Okay, do I have any additional questions for Ben? All right, no old business,
No.
no new business, chief.
So unfortunately, I have, provided two quotes. I know, this is, I hate this, but I have it. That was Exos. Our current property room system is just computer-based for one computer. It's got no cloud storage or anything else. It's, not gonna be compatible for what our future use is gonna require. We had a meeting and we included IT Jackson on our demo call with Omnigo. So Omnigo currently houses our Track 7, which is a, what we've been privileged to use through Indigo, through IMTV, which is all of our individual photos and videos that we've been using for the past several years for free because of having Indigo access. Or, I'm sorry, Indy.net, sorry. Having that access gave that to us for free. So we've had that all these years. With us moving away from that, we will no longer have that access. Omnigo is a part of that. So what we will get with this is continued access for that Track 7. We won't lose all those years of history of all those, the photos and all the digital evidence that's already in that system. They'll merge that to our new system, so we'll still have access to that. But also what we'll have is a cloud-based property room system, which we will need. Especially when future-wise, we're gonna end up having to separate from IMP's property, which is what we used for many years for a lot of things. Exos has approved, you know, the system. It'll give us also, which is a huge thing, is the phone storage, uploading all that data from the different phones. And we use those for evidence as well, and that's a lot of data that goes into that. But the cloud storage was a major thing. What I've given you is two different contracts. One's a 5-year, one's a 3-year. They're both, you know, I don't anticipate us ever moving away from them. Especially with that Track 7 is, I think it's been 10+ years that we've been on that. Then you get a test of that as well, but I don't see that system going away. It's been riding through. It's pretty solid, but
Advantages, disadvantages, one or the other, I was kind of looking at, I realized it's a lot cheaper, you're 4 and 5, and that reviews all of those.
it is, but I don't see us doing anything differently. I think the system's pretty solid. The demo pretty much sells itself. You can see all the different things it offers. A lot of it is very user friendly for the officers to do a lot of the submissions themselves for the property room. So, and that was a major function for us.
You got an audit of the properties that you had to turn over to staff,
Yes, and
like shake out.
everything. It's all manual, but everything is static.
Okay.
So, Unfortunately, it's manual, which we need getting the system up and going is. Unfortunately, the other, what did that
So then, important.
yeah, the other system wasn't being utilized. So, yeah. But this will, yeah. This system will definitely be, if we had any audits, we're gonna.
Where's the, money coming from the purchases?
Balance. Yeah, so are you wanting to do the whole 5 years? Is there a cost savings to that, or?
There is somewhat of it, I wasn't gonna jump in and. In case there were some snags,
I think that's fair.
I was gonna just go to the 3 year, just in case there was something that we didn't mind about it. I don't foresee it changing because of the whole rest of it, but I'm okay, I'm comfortable with going 3 years, just in case we don't like it, we can go somewhere else. But,
Not to mention, we might have a couple fund balance issues,
yeah, well, yeah.
I was thinking that everything seems to be fluid in the field, not just in our department, but nationwide.
Yeah.
And to me, it just seems like it might be better to just, there's not that much of a savings to go to 5 over 3, it might be better just to go with 3 right now. I got a feeling like. I think they're fine, we want to switch after 3 or something, so.
Yeah, and I'm okay, I'm comfortable with the 3, just in case we get into it, maybe we don't like it as much, but there's a lot of functions to it that are very attractive. I would like it so much, but it's one of those things where we didn't go through looking at a bunch of different programs because of the guide 7 of those years. It's already established, it's a matter of working all of those little pieces, and old digital photos and stuff that we still need.
You're right, technology's changing so fast.
Yeah,
Especially for the, you know,
Yeah.
every day, it's new technology anymore.
Yeah.
Insane.
Does anybody else have any questions for Chief? Any further discussion on this matter? Any other question? I'll entertain a motion.
make a motion that we go with the 3-year contract.
I'll second.
Okay, the amount of $73,522.71. Here. Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Did you find fund balances to cover it yet?
Yes, we definitely, and we'll discuss that, but how much needs to come from. I mean, I think that there's plenty in, between 270, which is the forfeiture fund, as well as the lower 249 funds.
I was thinking, probably a decent amount, 249.
Yeah,
We have the money to pay for it, like money is just figuring out how we want to allocate the cost.
Well, we're not allocating the whole 73,000 this year, correct? Just for everyone across.
Yeah,
That's what you're going to but there's still.
yeah, so, yeah, it will be something that right now is probably either split from those funds or take from one to the other, and then we do it in budget for next year.
The initial money we'll need.
You know,
I've got a motion and a second, any additional discussion?
Yeah, just one question. This is mainly because of us becoming our own account, is that correct?
Partially, the other part is we do not have a property room system that is, we need to do file storage. And what we have right now is just one program that's on a computer that doesn't have any upgrades, it's just an old system that once there's there, when we outgrow it, there's nothing to do to stand on it.
I was just gonna say, if this part of becoming a town, is this something we want to track? So that's my only question. It's just, for whatever reason, I wouldn't go buy the tractor or not, but the call. So,
it doesn't relate to the legislation that was passed, but it's related to the IT change that we see.
so right, ISA, Indianapolis's IT service.
okay,
And some of it, like Chief was saying, is services and perks and benefits we do not currently have with that already, so.
Okay, additional questions or discussion? Good motion. Thank you. First, second, great. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed. Your contract's approved.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Absolutely, that was all.
A lot of money, so confusing too.
Eric, BSNA quote.
Just another 75. This is for BSNA, cloud integration for, a couple months ago, you approved the financial for accounts payable, the utility billing to move those over to cloud. This quote is for payroll, which we're currently doing through Paychex. We've had issues with Paychex and it's getting more and more expensive. It's for community development, which includes permitting, and some other things. And, we currently use iWork for that. But Christine's let me know that there's new legislation, lots of new requirements for communities that we have to do that iWork, it just isn't capable of doing. So from a financial perspective, it really makes a lot of sense to have all of those in the same place. And all of these will be cloud-based. So that's gonna be a lot easier to be able to work from anywhere. The other thing is fixed assets, which I've been doing our fixed assets on a spreadsheet, since I've been here, and it's worked out okay for the most part, honestly. But again, as we grow, as we're getting more and more things, grant funded things, it's just becoming to the point where I think it's gonna be important that we have a more robust system to track that. The same thing with human resources, we have systems, but it's mostly, spreadsheets and paper and things like that. So this will give us kind of one place integrated with payroll to be able to, just have it all, keep track of disciplinary actions, keep track of FMLA, all that kind of. So, the total quote is $76,890. 30,000 of that is for training. So we will only be charged for the training that we actually use. So given that we're doing all of these modules kind of close to the same time, I'm fairly certain that we won't use all of that training. And the other thing is that we're currently paying just for iWorks and Paychex, we're paying about 18,000 in fees for those. So even though this is a significant upfront cost, our annual fees overall will go down. So we're paying 18,000 now. Our budget for next year will be 13,705 for the same things. So.
And a lot of the functions, this is going to eliminate, I'm assuming, our manual functions you're doing currently.
Correct.
And a lot of the things, yeah. The HR, a lot of that is automated and it's tied things directly to payroll, like FMLA tracking, this type of things are integrated into the system. I think the inventory one's gonna be very important as we grow, just because we do a lot of our capital assets, if we do all the large ones now, but with a more robust system, we'll be able to track more things easily when they come online, particularly when it's in the same system as invoicing things.
And what I do right now for fixed asset is purely financial, but this fixed asset system will have more, the things that you need to know about your assets. Maintenance,
For insurance and stuff too.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Much easier for insurance and
Yeah,
so we don't miss something or.
yeah, makes
We
it a lot
eliminate
easier to
something.
schedule stuff, yeah.
We can include attachments and pictures, so especially 20 years from now, we'll be able to see what this is, where we got.
One of the things that I works, it has file size maximums on it. And so as we get commercial projects and big multi-family projects, we've been trying to shift toward our planning commission projects going to digital submittals. Those files are all too large. And so we end up having to use Dropbox or other ways to receive the plans for those and then keep them in other locations. So they're not up in the cloud with the permit software and that, and BSNA has no limits on those things. So that's something that is really kind of a big deal as we're moving forward, and then it also will allow us to automate some of the messaging that will go to the applicants, that allows us to comply with the state. Just things that are we're gonna have some challenges with iWorks, because iWorks is very much this is how it works and we cannot change it, it's very custom.
And we were getting where you were gonna, if we stay with fireworks, I have to pay for an additional space and permits anyway. It's very kind of.
And we only use it for permits, we don't use it for fee and reviews, and this fee allows us to basically double the work.
Any additional questions? This would come out of fund balance, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, general fund.
And some of this, the payroll and the HR part especially, and the fixed assets will probably charge a portion of that.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, the community development, the BD building department, and then the BSNA one line, the CB building, what are those, what's the difference?
One's like the actual permit, so that's your building permit, your sewer permits, right away permits, anything there's a permit for. And the other one is the suite for all your training cases, so that's your BCA, your planning commission cases, and all of those committee reviews. So for whatever reason, they separate them, that's how they all do it. And then that by far their cost is much more reasonable than.
Okay, yeah, I was just,
Yeah, it looks weird because it looks like a duplicate, but, that's how it really gets.
sounds like it's needed.
There's another question or discussion on the motion?
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of the VDEX and then fall. Believe the up to 76,890.
Oh, so.
We got a motion and a second, any additional discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Consideration of a road impact fees contract.
Yeah, in your packet, you have a contract, from ANS Engineering, we reached out to them, the end of last year. Once we started to receive a lot of, interest in our area, and think that it's time to establish a road impact fee. The purpose of this is to, ensure that new developments are contributing to the cost of infrastructure needs. And this contract, they'll be investigating existing conditions, traffic volumes, they'll be investigating 25 segments and 19 intersections within the town. Existing capacities of streets and intersections, projected future traffic volumes, and investigate various traffic improvement plans and develop with impact fee. This is gonna be done in 3 phases. And it's gonna be about a 9-month process, to receive the final report, but we don't expect this to go into effect until late 2026 or early 2027. This is in a total amount of 72,000.
You say go into effect, you mean the impact fee itself?
Yeah. You guys remember when you did the park impact fee, you have a statutory requirement for how you establish that, and. Once the council adopts the ordinance statutorily, it's a 6-month cooling period before you can actually charge it to someone. So which that part and still.
This will give us recommendations on the fee.
It sets the fee.
It sets them.
It sets the fees.
Okay.
The
So
state-
essentially, is each project coming to us through planning commission, and we're kind of negotiating with them on what road improvements are needed based on their projects, and this takes the place of that, and it's been studied, and they will automatically pay it based on the trips that their project generates.
The reason we went to A&F Engineering for this is who's been tried the most in central Indiana, all their cases, because Sometimes you'll have developers and builders push back on impact fees in general, and sometimes I think like in court, and every time an A&F case got to court, it's held up, so.
Do we have any initial projections having to account for impact fees? Rough idea?
No, I mean, you can't really forecast that. What's in the area typically, from our neighbors, is between 280 to 330 a trip, and then you get your trip generation based off of your, just like a household. Like single family will say, is this many trips per day? So each time you get a house permit, it will be that many trips times the fee. So it just depends on the use and all that gets established through this process. I guess it's be comparable. But then Pendleton has a fee that's the highest in the state, and they're close to 8,000 that trip. So 8,000 a trip, and theirs was tested and stood, so. Nobody will build in Pendleton.
And this is who we use, the user panel?
No, they did theirs in house, Resky did it because he's an engineer. So, yeah, Scott did it and stuff, so.
So, let's say that, a developer needs to build the road or do improvements. Will this reflect that, or just a regular impact fee like with the park? Or is that over and above?
So part of the road impact fee study is they look at, what we're projecting for growth and development. And they determine what road improvements will be needed based on that for the study area, and then set that fee, so any development within that study area will pay this fee. So instead of doing that traffic study and saying, okay, it says you should do all these things, let's negotiate what you're going to do, they're gonna pay a fee so that we then will go do those improvements.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll be able to pay those because they're worth
I mean, I'm sorry, but you do have some options with this as well in that, once you implement a road impact fee, if a developer has to do some road improvements around the area, you can have systems within there to give them credit so that essentially they build it, but then they don't have to pay as much of the road impact fee. You have a calculation that way. And so there's a lot of flexibility there. This is a move that a lot of communities are going to, especially given the environment that was out of the state house over the past few years. It's a way to find ways to pay for the upkeep of your infrastructure without taxing your individual constituents more. This is on the developers themselves. The other thing to keep in mind is once you go through this, and Kaylin was right, it's about a year-long process to do the study itself. Then if you pass the ordinance at 6 months before it comes into play, you've got to re-up your road impact fee every 5 years. So you got to start planning. So that 4th year, you are doing the study again so that you don't have a gap because of that 6-month break. Because that, I can just give you an example. Westfield, we pushed it up to the limit for them. It would cost them about $7 million towards their budget because of the amount that they get from road impact fees. Now, they're growing tremendously, but Cumberland is not too far behind just by seeing the growth that you guys have there.
Jill, have you already reviewed this contract?
I have reviewed it. It's a standard A&F agreement. It's the same pushback that I would give to A&F every time. They have a clause in there that states that they will follow all Indiana laws. I like it a little bit better if we have a specific E-Verify and non-discrimination clause in there, but it covers it. I think if I push back and said, hey, sign this addendum specifically detailing E-Verify and non-discrimination, they wouldn't have a problem with it because I haven't in other communities.
So if we pass it tonight, you will also put in the motion that addendum is done, signed by them, would that be appropriate?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Any additional questions on the contract? Joe?
Just wondering, because it says draft on it still.
We can get a clean copy. So you can get signed.
It's the final term, it's gonna be approving still.
Except for the change he wants to make on the agenda.
It's a question that.
We can only do it in Hancock County right now.
Well, the map on the back is highlighted blue, is everything north of 21st Street up to 30th Street, between Cumberland Road and Turner Turn.
They have the entire.
So there's a few different maps involved, because you can only study certain roadways and they have.
Say, why we can do,
Yeah, this,
well, yeah, I know, it's the list of the streets.
say, but not all that's being studied, they marked in a few different colors and what's getting looked at. I know that they may look at traffic counts on the forecast impact and stuff.
I was just curious, you know, like, I didn't.
So Jewel legally, since we can only do Hancock County, we'll have to come back with a separate contract once we're out in Marion County. If that's even perfect, there's not a lot of development.
Sorry, it may not be worth the money to do Marion County because you study improvement zones and specific roadways and road impact fees, and if there's not development impacting that.
It's not worthwhile.
It's not, yeah, you won't want it, so.
Yeah, you'd be spending $100,000 on the study itself for minimal return, so.
Are you sure they're not going to be included as in the price, just because those streets are listed?
Yeah, Ed's got a good point, they've got them listed in the contract.
They do. The other one after.
Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable until that was changed myself.
Stop letting you know that,
They-
because that will lower the price of those study little streets.
It shouldn't, I did not.
That's what I'm trying to see, there's that.
Good call, that's,
Yeah, or to the tenth and between German Church and Monroe. Tenth between Whitney and Whitney. German Church between 10 and US 40. There's a lot of Marion County on here.
Yeah.
That's good call, but we're should was in Hancock County then.
Yeah, this is a short term. It's on the council share, it's not the.
Yes, big, is that the one? Yeah.
It's the one.
Yeah, and that doesn't say exactly what phase A is or phase B, but.
Yeah,
Bring it to the next meeting, so we can break.
Yeah, do I have a motion to continue this next meeting?
yes.
Second. First and second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Staffing discussion. Thanks.
We started talking a lot about staffing earlier this year, predominantly started with meeting with Chief Woodland, Detective Wagner, Captain Crook, going through their shift loads, basically, where they're efficient at. Past few years, they've been running kind of in the red on fully staffed shift 80% of the times, which is a huge issue for me, for a few reasons. Safety is probably number one priority there, but you sort of get in a situation when you have a tight staff, right, where your employees get burnt out because they feel like they can't use their PTO, and the supervisors get stressed out when people use their PTO because you don't have coverage, and it just creates a poor working situation. So we started evaluating mostly around police costs and things up front. We found that we can sustain easily an additional hire right now with what we have in 2025, and then
In the current budget.
in current budget, maybe with some appropriation. They did have a vacancy this year that sat open for a while, but they also laid off civilian staff and done a plan on restaffing civilian staff and police staff. It's for two officers right now in 2025, it's about 268,470, but that's for whole year, for not for what we prorated through end of year. We can definitely, like I said, afford that, whether that could be sustainable on during that. It is a significant increase in general fund budget, but I think that's going to be about 6% in order to do both increase, but we really, what we found, and Mark and Deuce could probably do a very good job presenting this to you, but we really think we're down 5 officers with a 24/7 shift pattern, just trying to get closer to that. So that we have the kind of coverage we want, the streets and for staff to be able to more comfortably use media, and supervisors and leadership be more comfortable about using the paper. So it wouldn't require a change in the salary ordinance because it's already budgeted and it's not. So it just require approval from you guys to make those hires. So that's the first big thing I want to talk about, because I think it's needed. Also, obviously, with what we do quality of life, public safety is a foundation of that. People want to see officers out there visible and patrolling. What we found going through the data instead of twos running short, it makes it difficult to do some of that proactive policing. The officer led, is that the terminology, the officer led kind of engagement versus reactionary. So it's pretty strong data that supports the opposite of the town to have police visibility and offer officer initiated runs and things as well, not just reactionary services. So I'm asking to be able to have chief hire 2 more people.
When,
Well, yeah, I'm asking for a consensus tonight, so that
You wanting to?
2 this year, I want to get to 5 over the next 3 years or so. I wanted to do 2, 5.
We're probably on 5 in the next 3 years. Gotcha.
That's my goal, yeah, for police department.
Suzanne and I talked about it, and I have no doubt for sure.
Yeah.
But then I'd like to see some more supporting that.
I think Deuce and Mark like presenting what they showed us.
Are you wanting to see financial data or shift data?
Yes,
Both.
yeah, I want to see trends. Obviously, you're talking about run loads, you should be able to pull that the previous years. And show any kind of upward peak. Incident reports on types, acuity of those incident reports.
Improved. Yeah, they have all of that sorted out. They actually spent a lot of time breaking it out because they had to pull everything from both counties, and then they also went through having to clean up the runs to show what was actual runs and who was actually signed each run.
And it also shows even the deficiencies when officers are either sick or on vacation and the strings that we have there just trying to cover.
Yeah, so they.
About the future development coming on too.
Yeah, so that's part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Is staff.
Well, that's what I'm sure we had the 3-year points and the DMs always do over the taxes.
Yeah, so. I'm less concerned about funding with the current legislation when passed, when I would have been in that start of session. Digging into that with deductions things, so I'm not super concerned from a revenue standpoint, but Mark and
As it stands now,
Captain, yeah,
we don't look at it here.
I think it's gonna get better.
Thanks, enough.
Not property tax, I think income taxes get better, so, but I mean, that's determined also by the council, when the guys are willing to set us a rate, so.
Everybody okay with that? See some data, some make sure that July 16th. And then both the data and financial ratio this out to the county.
Yeah, so that's pretty easy to do, so.
Are you good with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that was the first one, that's not actually.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, so it's also been our hiring plan, we talked about it during the rate increase and stuff. Working towards the collection system to add 2 additional hires into the utility department to start operating, cleaning jetting sewers and also have cross training and the operations between operators. They run Southern Dynamic for 7 days a week, all the time. There's a lot of burnout fatigue. The greater issue for them is we have more work. So, with the rate we're collecting, the coverage ratio, of course, we have SRF, we have more than one to make 2 additional hires within utilities. So I wanted to bring that up now because we're getting to time with the work ramping up that we could bring 2 individuals in and start training and learning the system. The utility board will be considering purchasing a combination machine, some equipment, kind of talk about that. So being able to run that, also getting more people trained on our lab is important, getting more trained operators is important. We think it'll be hard to hire an operator, but we're actually okay for these positions, not hiring somebody who's an operator, but that brings somebody in that we can train a couple of individuals, try to do it more like an apprenticeship. You have to work for a wastewater treatment like for 1 year before you can test like an apprenticeship anyways to become a class 1 operator. So
Kind of pay rate to
on an entry level, I'm trying to remember what our last hire was at. I think it was about 25, 26. So, and then you have outfitting costs too, because you have vehicle and some uniform costs.
Yeah,
it's, yeah, so. Their vehicles aren't as substantial, don't have the files and all the lighting requirements. So as an officer, so it's not terribly expensive to outfit them, but yeah, 4-wheel drive stuff. Yeah.
Can you bring us more data on July 16th meeting on the rest of the road that I did those months at the both the same time?
We can, so hoping to act sooner than that, just because we're at operationally, I mean, financially, you're talking about for 2 people. Starting off closer to 200,000, but if they were to become class 4 operators, that's about 268, 269,000, all the outfit and time, your benefits and everything. Total package, so I can't bring that back, except we're just in a spot where it'd be better to bring the ends and down. I talked about this with Mike a little bit earlier before the meeting. I think getting people in, stabilizing that apartment, their department, and trying to build it up is important. Obviously, you can wait a few months. It's a little bit behind material, but if we don't build that department up, well, we thought we'd have John at least 2, 3 more years, and we were planning on this is our succession plan. This is where the department's going. This kind of just opened a lot of the pain points sooner. So we want to kind of get ahead of that. All the retirees and things in the market, I just worry that we're gonna, if we don't build up the department and start contracting again. So we contracted for a decade. I don't think it was the best thing for the is ownership and reporting and things like that. It's all, but what they appreciate it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and looking at it and building the new plant, I feel like, whoever that we would hire would be on all that, being on training
right.
and all that, you know.
That would happen if we waited a couple of months anyways. I'm just really wanting to get people into the rotation, training, learning plant checks, learning basically pump changing, valve exercising. So,
How about this as a compromise? Because I got that not actually seeing some figures and they're running on me, I'm not comfortable at all with just saying, yeah, well, actually. And I'm speaking for myself, but I think I'm probably speaking for some of the other councilmen. Yeah, how about this as a compromise? In anticipation of probably heading that direction, advertise it.
oh, hold on.
No, advertise it. You can have the applications coming in and ready to go. We could look at it at the July 16th meeting, when we got hard facts and figures.
Yeah, just personal preference, all off, that's fine.
Fine. I was just trying to give you an option.
I appreciate it, but it's, I don't advertise jobs, I don't know process, so. Okay. Appreciate it.
Well, let me ask consensus, I'm one person. Does everybody want to see some facts and figures before you vote on it?
Yeah.
I can pull up budget numbers right now, I mean, we could pull up
No.
hard numbers.
I get it, I want to sit and look at it and have the data beforehand.
Good vote,
Huh?
so I'm good with it.
Okay,
Thank you.
you bet, thanks. Okay, any business, sir?
No, sir.
All right, council comments.
We have a couple.
Shoot.
Road work, start date.
Pre-finals Friday, so it should be in the next couple weeks, they want to come and do everything at once, but pre-construction meeting scheduled for this Friday.
The other thing is that still waiting for our report on that traffic calming study we did.
So I think that's pretty much ready, we reviewed the draft of the policy and plan a couple weeks ago
And Everett started buying the things that we need.
for the demonstration on the Albert Drive, so. That installation is gonna happen in about 6 weeks, and I think the policy they could kind of present anytime, now that we signed off on the draft.
That's all I had.
I know it's probably bad, and again, it would be especially after the storm. How would you do on getting lights?
Yeah, we're just talking about that, I mean, we're down
Straight
these extras right now, but, I think we're gonna bring in an electrician, Mike and I were talking about it, basically evaluate redoing the entire streetscape. So,
That and doing some repairs, and I suggested to them that we buy 2 or 3 poles. Let's get them, find them, get them ordered, maybe 6, to have what we need. And if we have one go down, we hire an electrician to come, if we can find somebody willing to do the work. See, because that is a part of the problem too.
Well, and with us, you know, contemplating building the streetscape on down, we gotta take care of what we got to, you know. So
We have to take care of the street light. And we may have to start thinking about, as we build on down, these lights or fixtures are probably obsolete, and we may wanna look for something. Maybe different, nothing stays the same.
I hate to use the word generic, but maybe something more easily accessible.
Yes,
there's off the shelf models that look nearly identical to that, we have a couple of them out there, currently, because that's what we had to do. But there's, typically, we've tried to get a couple of stock, as I was telling Mike, that we manage need something closer to 5, they get hit and knocked down much more frequently than people even realize at times, so.
And also, the light fixture itself, that,
The Shepherd's. Pro-
yeah,
the-
it doesn't light up like,
Doesn't really illuminate or.
No, it doesn't.
It's more
It's
than,
That's the LED thing,
yeah,
because the LEDs just go straight.
it's LED casting.
yeah, so if we, you know, continue on, maybe we should consider a different actual light fixture. And at some point in time, replace these, especially if we're gonna replace.
that's what, yeah, by saying that, you know,
Yeah,
Yes, as it fits out, and that's kind of what we have done with some of them, is. Yeah,
no, tomorrow.
you know, I'll handle more, if there's problems, let's get them, tell Mark, have a meeting. Sit,
Lights.
you know, but we gotta make it. We gotta keep the maintenance, and we gotta make it as cost efficient and easy as possible to maintain it
Yeah,
on a
absolutely.
regular basis. So,
I think without rewiring and doing this, then it's gonna.
If that's what we need to do.
So,
yeah, I mean, if it was designed poorly, it's undersized. Well, before all the conduits fill up with mud, let's get them pulled in and get them updated.
Ergo, this is weird, our preferred electrical vendor, and they said they would take a look at it.
Line smart. Are we intentionally letting weed one creek get waste time?
Yes,
Trying to hide the creek from the trail?
no, it's what you're supposed to do for stormwater, it's let it grow up past the bank edge. So that's what you're supposed to do for erosion control and DNR standard.
I was curious, because in like your past, did it cut all the way to the creek?
Yeah. So they could maybe cut it back further and check, some of that may have been water issues they had on the getting stuck in water this year, so far just money.
And is that way there when you're cutting grass?
But maybe didn't want to get their food, because it's the exact same people mowing right now as it has been the past 5 years.
Because you feel the water right through, sitting on the creek, here.
Yeah.
I was curious.
Yeah, so we had talked about erosion control, because we were using a lot of banks and stuff. And letting it grow up further, and that's also kind of what the county and DNR wants us to do with the regulated drains. But I'll take a look at it, like I said, it's Cody and Seth mowing, we've done our mowing for the past like 5 years straight, so.
The creek by my house, I've always let it grow up on my side,
Yeah,
and I don't really have any erosion.
yeah,
On the other side
yeah,
is bad.
yeah, on the other side of
And I
the
mean, yeah, so. I tried in a nice way to say, you know, I think people think it doesn't look as nice, but it doesn't, but.
and all our stormwater training with HOAs and stuff, we asked them to leave 2 to 3 feet of grass from the edge of the retention ponds on mode as part of our training, state training. Otherwise, it erodes the bank and then ultimately typically ends up costing the town.
I have one thing, I noticed that they were working landscaping, doing some landscaping.
Yeah.
They did not do anything on the sides of the 40, all those weeds.
Yeah, they're not done in town, they've
Okay.
been spending a lot more time at one location. Than others, like when they worked on town hall, like they pretty much spent 4 days just working here. So they're not done with everything in town, I don't think they
Okay.
touched Honors Park yet either.
Okay, they should focus on 40 before they focus on anything else.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
No, I agree, it's the most visible.
And then, yeah, and of course, in the fall, we've got a lot of placements that need to be done or early spring.
Something.
One other thing for me, we need to have running boards put on the big trucks. The town does not have running boards on them trucks, and it's not safe. And we need to make sure that the trucks come with running boards in the future, and the trucks we own now, we need everybody to put them. That's my opinion, so, that's all I got. Pardon me?
Safety.
It is a safety issue. So,
Mike went on a ride along with John in his truck.
I did, I toured sewer plants last week, and it's like, I almost made him come around and give me a boost. But,
Man, that problem.
yeah,
It's true.
you're right.
Yeah, those are easy to get into, not so much get.
Yeah, but I had to get out of it. Yeah.
We've got our first BBB coming up June 28th, I believe. With the one fireworks, should be trying to go Jarvis should be there soon. We will not be meeting July 2nd. So our next meeting will be July 16th.
Correct.
Close to that.
They're planning, what's the meeting?
Yeah.
Sounds like I have to go out there.
Anything else? I'll take a motion.
So moved.
They gotta put one more.